California continues its fiscal train wreck. A $19 billion budget shortfall, a budget impasse moving into its third month, a 3,000% increase in pension liabilities. Next week, the state will begin to issue IOUs once again, with the governor and the state assembly locked into a budget battle royale. California has been shuttering everything from police stations to libraries. Is there any way to get the fiscal train back on track? I'm Alan Barton. Welcome to the front page. Joining me in PJTV studios are expert panelists, Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, and Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. Don't laugh when I say expert. It's completely true.
Absolutely.
You know? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. So the governor seems to be actually getting serious about dealing with these pensions. At long last, in the last gasp, the last breath of his administration, he seems to be getting serious. He offered a Wall Street Journal editorial, and in it he says, I'll quote here, roughly 80 cents of every government dollar in California goes to employee compensation and benefits. Those costs have been rising fast. Spending on California's state employees over the past decade rose nearly 3 times the rate of revenues. Wow. Great, isn't it?
Well, wasn't he
really
governor during these years?
Well, apparently a lot of these things were passed in the 90s. You know, and that's what he's trying to have force those guys to take it back. Terry, what's the history here, and what do you think of his efforts?
Well, the history is one of we've basically ignored the problem as it's grown, and this has become a nightmarish situation for us, because by some measures we have as much as $500 billion in pension liabilities, and these things will have to be paid one way or another, and the state is going to have to shoulder the burden or go belly up. And it's good to see Schwarzenegger at least making a case right now and waking up to the fact of the damage that's been done. But one wishes he would have done this a whole lot earlier. He was elected in 2003 and had a shot at fixing all this. But after a year of trying, he sort of gave up and threw his hands up in the air. Now he seems to be reborn a little bit on some of these fiscal issues. But the fact of the matter is, we're now in a situation where we've made far more promises than we can keep, and something's going to have to give. And that means either fewer services for Californians, or higher taxes, or we get to find some way to take back some of these pensions.
Yeah, in the last 2 years, there was a really great graph that went along with the governor's editorial that California has lost 1.2 million private sector jobs. There's the graph. Look at that. That red line, private sector jobs. See the yellow line at the top? You almost can't see it because it hasn't moved, and it's yellow. That's the number of state employees. It hasn't budged at all. Just shocking. Why can't California deal with this, in terms of bringing its public employees in line in terms of what the private sector is experiencing?
I mean, this is politics, because the public employees have huge pull. They have political power. They have become the most influential, pressure group in Sacramento, and just as unions, there have been periods in national politics where unions have dominated politically. The state pension plans and the state employees in California dominate California politics. Look, CalPERS and CalSTRS, the two pension plans, the investment arms of the pension plans, are the largest investors in the United States. They have more money under management than any other entity in the country. They are incredibly powerful. They have incredible pull politically and economically all over the country. And they've poured the money into all kinds of political causes which are not paying back anything, except political pull, which is what these people are really after. They're not after a financial return. They're after bolstering their political position. Look, the problem is this. You cannot have state employees have a defined benefit pension plan. It's unworkable, because if you set it up initially and it's not too rich, and it's paid for and everything. When the times are good, they have now political power. They're in government. They're there with their hands on the levers. They're going to make it richer and richer and richer. They don't have to pay for it, right? This is the state guaranteeing it. It's all of us taxpayers have to pay for it. So, and it's exactly a situation. And then when on the investment side, they don't invest in what will generate the maximum return. I remember a story from a few years ago. that CalPERS, which is the pension plan for the teachers, and this is the largest investor, put pressure on Coca-Cola. They were a very large investor in Coca-Cola, and they put pressure on Coca-Cola to get rid of Warren Buffett from their board. Now, Warren Buffett is unquestionably one of the greatest investors in human history. Why would you want him off the board if not for some political gain or some? That's what motivates him. It's not about making money for the pensioners. And you know, this is inevitable. If you continue with this system, it can only get worse. It can't get better.
Well, earlier this week, I had a chance to catch up with Congressman Tom McClintock of California's 4th Congressional District. McClintock, who spent about 20 years in California politics, pointed to political cronyism, just what you're talking about, as a source of the state pension mess. Let's take a look.
Those pension funds are managed by political appointees who use the pension system to indulge every left-wing instinct that they have. So you have investments being made on the basis of political causes and cronyism rather than sound economic concerns over returns. Those two factors are causing the wreck of the state's pension system. And those are the two things that need to be reformed.
So, Terry, isn't there any sort of legal system that guides this sort of thing? Or is it just sort of this unrestricted area where they're allowed to drive this gigantic train off the tracks and wreck it for everybody?
Well, you know, theoretically, there are limits and laws and things in place which govern what, you know, especially with regards to pensions. For instance, one of the things the pension fund managers have done is they've started making socially conscious investments, which, in my opinion, represents a sort of a legal violation of their obligations as fiduciaries for the public. That means they're financially responsible to chase the highest returns. But they're not doing that, and they've cost literally billions in returns on some of their investments. But what's worse is that I think there's an element of fraud in this, and that they have done this oftentimes, as with the case of the City Bell in Southern California, behind the backs of taxpayers and citizens, and often with a wink and a nod at one another that they were doing this. And we've seen, the pension liabilities just basically explode seemingly from out of nowhere. But the fact of the matter is, this has been going on for years and years, and the stink has been getting worse and worse, and nobody did anything to clean it up.
It's not just on the investment side; it's on the benefit sides as well. They keep upping the benefits. Yes. They keep getting better and better benefits. And why wouldn't they? If they can't make the money on the investments, who's going to bail them out? We, the taxpayers. Unless you separate taxpayers from these funds, and if they lose $500 billion, then they won't get their pensions. And then the pensioners have an incentive to monitor the investments and to make sure that they're making the most return. But right now they have no incentive because
they have these systems where their last year of salary becomes the basis on which their entire pension.
Yes. Yeah.
Some huge percentage of their last year's salary. So you have a lot of people getting these gigantic raises in their last year. A friend of mine works in the fire department. They say that both fire and police, the policemen, and these are honorable people, but the system is such that they are incentivized to store up overtime, to work a ton of overtime in their last year, to do all these things, to game the system, to game enough hours and compensation in the last year to become the basis for their pension. And then they're retiring at 50. And with the general health increasing, you've got this huge tide of people over age 50 who are on the taxpayer system. Is there anything to be done about that other than a really...
Well, yeah, I mean, there are lots of things, and it starts with some thorough political reforms, including, perhaps, one of the things that I think would have been a very good idea is putting the redistricting into the hands of somebody that's a little less self-interested than the legislature. Because that would make it easier for people to challenge in districts, and they wouldn't have so many safe districts. Because a lot of this has been aided and abetted by our political class. And as Joel Kotkin, who was here a couple of weeks ago, has noted in his writing, we've been losing a lot of middle class and entrepreneurial types from California. And they were the natural counterbalance to this class of people who are enriching themselves at the expense of the state. And we're losing them. And so we've got a lot of lower income people whose interest is obviously to have state benefits and welfare expand. And we have a state class of unionized members who are enriching themselves at the expense of the state. And there's nobody really looking out for the overall interests of the state. It's every man for himself. And that's the big problem right now. And unless there's some kind of political revolution or somebody gets a backbone enough to challenge them on this legally, I'm afraid California's headed for a bankruptcy.
And
last word?
Yeah, I mean, the one solution that has to happen here for anything is they have to shift from this defined benefits to defined contributions. What state employees need are 401ks, just like the rest of us. They put their money, they invest it poorly, they lose it all. And what I think should be done right now is CalPERS should be dissolved. They should take the assets of CalPERS, give them out to all the teachers into 401k type accounts, let them invest it, and get rid of this that way you get rid of this whole system of pension benefits, a political pull, of having this fund in the hands of political appointees that can drive markets, that can really make an impact on investments out there. Put it in the hands of individuals who own the money, it's their money, and they invested well, good for them. They invested poorly, that's tough.
So that would go under personal responsibility, you're on? You're such a kidder. He's crazy with these ideas.
Yeah,
crazy with these ideas.
Somebody has to provide entertainment.
You're just a
here,
loony guy. Gentlemen, thank you for your insights. That's Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights. Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. Viewers, what are your thoughts on California's budget wreck? Are you one of the vendors or a scholarship recipient who's about to get an IOU? Can the state bail us out of this mess? What are you doing as an individual, as a business, to protect yourself from the state shenanigans? Click the comment section below. Give us your thoughts. I'm Alan Barton. This is The Front Page.